is a huge, huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing another gorgeous, bald Irish Catholic man named Jake Skelton, who's a director of operations at Bachman Family Dentistry, and that's in where's it at in
Greenwood, south of Indianapolis, Indiana.
So is it a suburb of Indianapolis?
Yeah, south side.
So are you still a Peyton Manning fan?
I grew up Calumet City, Illinois, so born and raised Bears and Notre Dame and all that good stuff that people love to hate.
Love to hate. So let me read your bio. Originally from Calumet City, Illinois, south side of Chicago, he attended Western Michigan University, where... So I'm going to read this as from you, because you wrote it from from you. I'm originally from Calumet City, Illinois, south side of Chicago. I attended Western Michigan University, where he earned his degree in Aviation Business Administration. Senior year at WMU, worked as a flight instructor for the university, which helped springboard his career as a professional pilot. This is where he met his wife, Lauren, who is also a pilot. She was actually a flight student, not his student, while he was an instructor. Lauren and Jake went out to get married, but found the life of a professional pilot wasn't conducive to starting a family, so they decided to make some changes and chose starting a family over flying professionally. He then went on to sell mortgages, which led to a banking, finance, investing career. While this was all going on, his best friend from college, his roommate, his best man in each other's wedding, godparents to each other's firstborn children, Dr. Nick Bachman was in the process of purchasing a dental practice in Greenwood, Indiana, and his wife, Dr. Beth Bachman DDS. They had always talked about working with each other and decided after their first year in business, he'd see how the numbers looked and see if it made sense to bring him on to help manage the practice. Now one practice has grown to two, and not a day goes by that he doesn't love going to work. He now works as Director of Operations, or General Manager, for lack of a better title, for Bachman Family Dentistry in Greenwood, Indiana, and Affordable Columbus Dental Care in Columbus, Indiana. He also just started his own practice consulting business. Bachman Family Dentistry is a large traditional practice, but Affordable Columbus Dental Care is unique in that it is an emergency walk-in dental clinic. So thanks for being on the show today. Yeah, so well, we're having the El Nino storm of our lifetime here in Phoenix, Arizona, so the internet's been all wacky all morning. In fact, that's why I'm wearing a jacket. I'm actually in my house freezing my my butt off. So you basically, those two dental offices are both in Indianapolis, Indiana, basically, or a suburb thereof?
Yeah. Columbus is about 40 minutes south of Greenwood. So, it's a good, I would say, hour or so from Indianapolis.
So you're basically running two different types of dental offices?
Yeah, absolutely.
So describe those different business models.
So they're two totally different ones, and we always joked around because we had everything in place with the office in Greenwood that when we were looking for another office, it would just be very cookie cutter. We knew who we'd go for, who we'd use for billing, who we'd use for inter-office communications, practice management software, all that good stuff. And then we went and found this other practice, and it's completely different. None of that stuff really applies, so to speak, just from a budget standpoint. And that one is all based on kind of like a hybrid emergency walk-in clinic. You pay the same day. It's very basic, very simple. We usually will run 2 to 3 employees at a time out of there, doctor and assistant. And
you mean 3 doctors and 3 assistants?
Nope.
One doctor and 1 assistant.
One doctor, 1 assistant. Yeah, and
you said 3 employees, so then 1 front office, 1 assistant, 1 desk.
Yeah, and I'll float in and out of there too. I'm usually in there like 1 or 2 days a week. On our busier days, like Saturdays are pretty busy. We'll bring sometimes another assistant in, but no front desk. I mean, there's no insurance claims. I mean, it's very simple, basic. It's awesome, actually. It's refreshing.
So, what is the percentage of net difference? Is one more net income profitable than the other? Is one business model better than the other?
That's what's funny is because, after all write-offs and adjustments take place at our Greenwood office, which is like the big full-service private practice, I mean, we can see a fraction of the patients, and we're pretty much netting right about the same. Now we have to do a little bit more, like frequency of some procedures, like we do a lot of extractions, dentures, but those are going to be higher paying procedures. So it's like if we see 2, 3, 4 denture patients in a day, we can end up, netting the same or more of what we would do in the bigger office and just handling smaller volume, that kind of thing, less paperwork, administrative stuff.
And describe the full service office.
So that one's going to be, it reminds me a little bit of your office. I was checking it out online, and I had one of the things when I first started listening to you, you caught my attention because you always said, kids out of college, they graduate from dental school. It's like, don't go after the Taj Mahal and build it in the pretty area. It's like you want to go after somewhere that there's work to be done. The doctor's checked out. There's, the MODBL enters the room before they do, and that's this practice. That's definitely what we do there. So when Dr. Bachman came in, I mean, he just digitalized everything. He got digital X-rays in, pano. We added a E4D about April of last year. Just took everything digital. I mean, there was 2 computers in the whole building for about 3,000 active patients, and they were running Easy Dental at the time and doing everything off a paper schedule, paper charts, everything. And so we converted it all to paperless and got Dentrix on board, and just kind of modernized it all. But yeah, I mean, we accept pretty much, I mean, about 9, 10 different insurance plans. Delta Dental is probably our favorite out of all of them. Just added PPO. That one's funny because it's like those fees are very comparable to our fee schedule down in Columbus. Well, they're paying out of pocket, and then by the time we adjust it and everything, it's like we're making the same amount of money off the PPO, Delta PPO, as we are down there. It's like, but some of them pay better than others, and we've negotiated those too. So it's worked out well though.
But it's funny because dentists traditionally always wanted to build the Ruth Chris Steakhouse, and they just don't want to believe there's more money in McDonald's. They just and there's 25,000 McDonald's, and there's not that many Ruth Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this Columbus practice is very much like that. I mean, it's like what you always say: provide for the masses and eat with the classes, and that's the place because I mean anybody can afford it. It's almost, I mean, not to say you pick off a menu, but we're not secretive about our fee schedule. It's like someone calls up, they know what they want by the time they get there. It's like going to the grocery store. Like you get up to the register, you've seen the prices for all the food as you load up the cart. So by the time you get to the register, it's like it's not a surprise. You're like, here, take my money. So it's kind of like that there. I mean, we don't do the work unless they can pay, and we go from there.
So if you had to open up a third office, which one would it be? Would it be the Affordable Columbus Dental Care business model or the Bachman Family Dentistry business model?
I would go the affordable route. Yeah, definitely. It's the patients are so laid back. It's in an area of Columbus. There's really no patients around. There are no other offices. I mean, you look on the north side of Columbus, that's where, some of the newer subs are, and that's where all the practices are. But this is an area that's a lot of retirees. It's, mid to lower income. It's not the, brand new shiny part of town. And so it's just, the patients are so thankful that they have a place to go because they're not going to go to the oral surgeon. They can't afford it, and so now we're getting a lot of referrals from the hospital. There, people go in there over the weekend and they send them to us, and the middle school. I mean, they're sending us, kids that the parents can't afford stuff, and they'll refer them over to us, and we'll take care of them. We've even had patients pay for other kids, classmates that they go to school with because they feel so bad for them. And then we get a lot of retirees. I mean, they're great. Dentures, we've been schooling up a lot with dentures. That's been awesome. It's been fun because you talk about changing somebody's life. I mean, there was a kid, he's like 28 years old. He's got 6 kids. Maintenance supervisor at his work, and he just has put off his mouth, his teeth. He hasn't, put them off, took care of all his kids, and now it was his turn. And so we, extracted eight teeth basically. Is all he had left on top and bottom, and gave him top and bottom denture. And like he said, he hasn't seen that smile since he was a little kid. I mean, it was great.
So he's 28 and he had 6 children.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Was he Catholic or Catholic?
I was just gonna say that.
So what do you you're talking mostly to all dentists right now.
Yeah.
So how do you see everything different from an operations and logistics point of view than you think the dentist who's in there trying to border mold the perfect impression for a denture?
Um, I think they just got to remember it's the people skills. And it's like it's hard to teach that, but I think that's where they draw, where they're missing that piece of the puzzle. There is just talking to the patients and relating to them like they're normal people. I mean that's it. Getting them to like you and relate to them, and maybe not bombard them with all the treatment, but let them know that everything else, there's other stuff we got to take care of, but not throwing the whole kitchen sink at them and scaring them to death, and just let them know you're going to be there for them. Take it one step at a time, break it up, and I mean that's been where a lot of our successes come from, honestly. And also the thing that I noticed right away coming into dental, because I came from the outside. I came from the banks and aviation, and it all kind of translates to this job really well, honestly. With aviation, it's like instead of jet fuel, you're dealing with blood. Instead of worrying about financial privacy, you're worried about HIPAA and PHI and all that stuff. So it's very transferable. But the thing that drove me nuts, like right out of the gate, is you see how much things are marked up. And I'm not talking about things that have to be stamped and approved by like the AEA or anything like that. It's just things that, like, why would you charge so much? It's like just because dentists are wealthy or stereotypically doing well doesn't mean that you're going to quadruple the price for it. So we've hammered our reps pretty good and negotiated some pricing. Same thing with the insurances. And that would be my biggest advice, honestly. Don't take the first price and just go along for the ride, because you'll just lose. You'll just lose every time.
Right, and I think the prices aren't transparent in dental supplies, and I think that American culture is we don't like to haggle. Some cultures like to haggle, and our culture doesn't haggle. So if a dentist, every time the supply rep walks in, says, "Oh, how are you? How was your weekend? What's new with you, Jake?" Then they just throw you the highest price.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of ugly and gross to sit there and say, I'm not paying this, back and forth. Everyone hates doing it on a car, but we have to do it with supplies. So how do you recommend haggling on supplies?
Nothing. You don't lose anything by asking. Worst case scenario, just ask. Can you do any better? I mean, that takes no effort. That should be the first question out of my mouth. Like, can you do anything for me on the price? Can you do any better? You need 2 + 1. I mean, and then go from there. If they shoot you down, then say, all right, well, I'm gonna think about it, and then you just go see what else is out there and who else you can go through. But
who do you buy your supplies from?
Mostly Patterson, John Chappell. He's awesome. I would highly, highly, highly recommend him to anybody that was in this area. I mean,
now did you haggle on your with the insurance companies too on price, or?
Yeah. Yep.
So talk about that.
We renegotiated pretty much everything when I first came in the last April 2014. That was one of the first things we went towards, and everybody wants to go straight towards the crown price and that kind of thing. But like what I started looking at was, I created an Excel spreadsheet and pretty much broke down the procedures that we're doing the most of. And it's like, if I can get an extra $1 out of every prophy that we do, it's going to be much more impactful by the end of the year because of how many of them that we do, than to negotiate an extra $100 on an implant or a crown or something like that. So that's what I would do. I would break down what you're doing the most of and then go from there.
So what procedures, do you remember from the Excel, what procedures were the highest volume?
It was
that you were successfully able to negotiate up?
Yeah. They don't want to, on the exams and the prophy, those are the ones that they don't really want to budge on too often. Crowns, we did negotiate crowns, so that was good because we were bringing the E4D on board, so we wanted to try to boost our margins on that. And then, pretty much, everything. Every office, you're going to be running through the same procedures most of the time.
So you said you signed up for 9 insurance plans?
And 9, I think 10 now that we had.
10, and did you call all 10 of them?
No, I picked the ones that were the worst first, because yeah, it's hard. They're hard to get a hold of. I mean, with the games that they play. But you know, Guardian, and it's been a year now since this took place. So, you know, we're probably going to wait another year before we negotiate again, just because it's so time consuming. And we're okay. And it's like when you look at your production is going to jump up right away because we had to increase our fees in the office. And then, you know, then when you look at your collections versus your production, it's going to be off a little bit. You're going to see more write-offs and adjustments until insurance catches up with you. But we wanted to bump our fees up, just to keep the insurance honest. And honestly, if I could pick one, I would go Delta Premier all day long. Like they're the best. I mean, they reimburse next day. We use Renaissance for all of our claim submission because they charge like a flat $49 per month. Unlimited claims, unlimited attachments, and I think we were using e-claims through Dentrix, and we were averaging about $260 a month. Because every time, you know, they kick something back and you have to resubmit an attachment, you're going to get billed again, is what we were coming into. So we're with Renaissance, and
what's the website URL on that?
I think if you just Google Renaissance, I think it's Renaissance or RSS.com. I think might be it. But I mean, they'll pop up right away. They're pretty easy to find. But I thought they were sending things through on our fax, like advertising $49.95 a month for unlimited claims, and I always thought it was just a spammy thing because it sounded so cheap. But then we actually looked into it, and it was awesome. I mean, so if we submit a claim through Renaissance, usually if it's like 9 o'clock in the morning, sometimes by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, we can already see with Delta Premier and Delta PPO that it's been funded and paid for. So the next day it's going to show up in the operating account. I mean, they're that quick. And the EOBs, you can click on there's little green check marks so you can look at the EOB and see what the max allowable is for the procedure. I mean, they're huge, and they're like pretty much spot on. And if you join up with Mavericks, you can, or not Mavericks, Renaissance, you can join one of their partners or.
Now, is that RenaissanceDental.com? RenaissanceDental.com?
No. Look, I can check on my phone.
Because I see they're in Indianapolis, Indiana, where you're at.
Yeah, and that would be them then. Yeah, and that was just pure coincidence that they happen to be kind of up the road from us. But they'll service the country as far as I know.
Huh. So. Yeah, I didn't know. Well, wait, that might be wrong. I don't know if there's a Renaissance Dental Insurance Company, or are you talking about Renaissance Claims Processing, and if that's the same business?
Well, it's the claim process, and then they have some companies. They have like Electronic Lockbox, which is like online payments and merchant services, and then they have Mavericks, which is something I would definitely recommend too, because under Mavericks, it's just a dental insurance group, basically. So they get all, 200,000 dentists or whatever behind them, and then they go to the insurance companies that won't negotiate, and then they get them on board. So then you're submitting everything under the Mavericks fee schedule. That was huge, honestly. That was a really good one.
Are you on your computer now, or are you on your cell phone?
Yeah.
So that's Renaissance Dental then?
Yeah, let me check it.
Let's see if that's Renaissance. No, I want to make sure I got the right company here.
Yeah, they're awesome.
But that's right. It's Renaissance Dental.
Pulling it up right now. Yeah, so the website is rss-llc.com.
Okay, so let me get this right.
Renaissance System and Services.
It's RSS
dash
LLC. Then what?
Dash LLC.
LLC.com.
Oh yeah, tell them I sent you.
Yeah, that is the same company.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same logo. Okay, so then they have the electronic dental claims, and you're saying that's a flat. How much a month?
It's like $49.95 a month.
49.
Yeah, 49. Yeah, 49 and some change.
But you're saying they helped you negotiate your fees with insurance companies?
No, that's who you submit all your claims through electronically.
Okay.
So instead of doing it through Dentrix or, EagleSoft or wherever you're sending it, you do it through them. They go in and install some software on your computer, and it's I don't know, it works. It's integrated into your server basically, and you submit the claim. You basically just switch the printer on it. Like if you're going to print a paper statement or a paper claim, they install like their own printer on there, and you just select them as a printer and hit submit, and it goes through their portal, and then you can like basically hold the claim's hand the whole way through the process.
But who were you saying with your fees that if people don't negotiate your fees, they lump a bunch of dentists together?
Yeah, so that's one of like their spin-off companies or sister companies that they have.
One of Renaissance's spin-off companies?
It's called Maverist.
It's called Maverist?
Yeah, Maverest, I think.
www.maverest.com?
Let me see here. Because there's links, like if you go to their website, it's all at the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, Maverist Dental Network. Oh, let's see, I'll get you. So yeah, so it's Maverest.com.
Maverest.com.
You got it.
And tell us what Maverist is going to do.
So it's just basically like if you were going to credential and sign up with an insurance, network and agree to their fee schedules, you're doing that with them, but they have the insurance, several different insurance companies underneath and already agreeing to their fee schedules. So when we submit something to, I'm drawing a blank on the insurance, like MetLife was a big one. So basically MetLife is agreeing to their fee schedule, so any claims that go through is going to be paid in accordance with Maverist. Because like a lot of them won't negotiate, like it's against their policy. So
like who won't negotiate? Who will just say we don't do this?
Like there's no negotiating from the dental office standpoint. It's Maverist has already done that with the insurance companies themselves. So
which dental insurance companies should the dentist listening here realize they're going to hit a brick wall that says they just don't do that? I mean, does Delta negotiate?
No, but they're like Delta Premier, their fee schedules. It's a rolling fee schedule, so it's going to go off of your zip code and what doctors in that area are submitting. This is what I was told by Delta, and it does make sense because you'll see it change every once in a while if you check how much they're paying. But so it's just a rolling fee schedule. So over a certain period of time, everybody's submitting $2,000 for a crown. You're going to see that crown max allowable price tick upwards.
So Delta Premier does not negotiate.
As far as I know.
What about Delta PPO?
I don't believe they do either, honestly.
So what other companies do not negotiate?
Let's see. Dunata, Anthem, MetLife. What else is there? There's Cigna. I didn't have any luck with Cigna.
Who did you have luck with?
Guardian. We had luck with. Let's see here. I'll have to look at this real quick. And honestly, it's like that, and that can change too. I mean, so if there's other insurances that you're in network with or want to, join up with, just call them up and get to provider relations and just say you want to negotiate fee schedules. I mean, I learned a lot of it. I mean, listening to some of the people that you've interviewed on your podcast. I know that there's companies out there that do just that, that just negotiate all of that. But I mean, you can easily call up and do it. It's like one of those things you just got to ask, and if you drop them and then go to join back up later on, we've had luck with that before too.
So what other things do you want to talk about? Career paths, growing and managing an emergency dental clinic, time management, consultants and vendors. Where do you want to go next?
My biggest thorn in my side is hiring associates, honestly. And I don't know, I was going to ask you and see if you had any feedback on that. I mean, because you have a couple associates that work out of your office, but, just in general, to find an associate for the Greenwood office, piece of cake, wouldn't be a problem. But the Columbus office where you're dealing with, mid to lower income demographics, that it's not bright and shiny, office, the area isn't the pretty area with walking districts and all that stuff. It's like, we're going to pay, we're advertising to pay our associates 50% of collections, which our production and collections are, go hand in hand because they pay same day. But it's like, that's it, man. It's like that's the only thing holding us back right now is doctor coverage, honestly.
And what do you pay the doctor in the affordable Columbus dental care? What?
50% collections. Call
you pay half.
Half. Yeah.
So your overhead would have to be 50% just to break even.
Yep.
So then, what is your overhead over there?
It's about 50% with that, and then it's about 20% everything else. So just payroll. Your payroll for the doctor is 50%. Everything else is coming out to 20%. So we're looking at 70% total.
So the doctor gets half, and for 20%, you can pay the rent, mortgage, equipment, build out, computer, insurance, everything.
Everything, yeah.
Everything. Yeah, a low-cost emergency clinic is low overhead dollars.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it is. It's honestly, it's like the way dental was supposed to be. I mean, back in the day, and because these patients, they don't have insurance, they don't have anything. I mean, they have cash. I mean, that's what they have: cash, check, credit, credit cards, care credit. That's it. We looked into payment plans. If we can come up with a payment plan option for them, I mean, there would be people lined up around the block, but it's just too risky, to be tracking people down and, collections and stuff. Cause you can send them to collections, they're not going to care.
So, are you glad you bought an E4D for the Bachman Family Dentistry business model?
Honestly, yeah. And I've heard you talk about this quite a bit, and I completely agree with you. We still send out, like, a lot of our anteriors we'll send to the lab, just because they get a little bit trickier. They're more time-consuming to design. When we brought that on board, I went to Texas with Dr. Bachman and
Dallas.
Yeah.
To the E4D headquarters.
Yep.
Which is now owned by Plan Mecca, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Out of Helsinki, Finland.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And no, it's been great. I mean, we didn't use it for a brief period of time when Dr. Bachman, he had to have some neck surgery, old football stuff with a ruptured disc and everything. So he was out of the office, and so we parked it for a couple months, and that was a complete headache for me personally. Just keeping track of all the lab cases, when they're coming back, when they're going out. That was a headache. So I love that it takes that off the table. I got trained on designing and milling and doing the maintenance and stuff, so I can handle a lot of that and take it off of his plate. But usually, I mean, he'll go in, he'll scan, and then hand it off to me. I'll get started on the margin. He comes in, checks it, and then I'll get started on the design. And then usually before we send it to the mill, he'll take one last peek at it. In the meantime, he's doing hygiene checks and working on other patients, and it works well. And now we have a new assistant that we hired 3 months ago, and she's fully trained on it too. So she's taking it off my plate. It's been beautiful. But we still, and the thing is too, it's like we don't make them sit for 2 hours. We give them the option, and that's what's nice. It's like you can leave and come back 3 days later, but at least you're not going 14 days with the temp on, which is, I had 2 of them on my front teeth, back in 2004, and I didn't like wearing temps, so I kind of sympathize with the patients in that regard. But I love it. But yeah, I mean, to be rigid and say that, we're only going to schedule if it's E4D and we're only going to do it this way, I think I don't think that's a good way to go about it at all. But it's definitely helped us for sure.
And why did Doc go with why did Nick Bachman go with E4D instead of CERAC? Those are the 2 main systems.
Yeah, good question. I mean, so him and Dr. Beth, husband and wife, they worked out of a large practice in north central Indiana, out by the South Bend area, and they would always have E4D would come in there and demo, or Shinewood, and same thing with Patterson. They would come in there. So he just liked that one the most. And then he was familiar with Dentrix, liked Dentrix, with everything. So basically, like, all our technology is all through Shine, and fun as that is sometimes, but it's all through Shine and all our supplies are through Patterson. So, so it helps it. So it's like if something goes wrong with it, you can't say, oh, well, that X-rays from Shine or Patterson, and it's not our fault, it's their fault. It's less pointing fingers at everybody when you're trying to troubleshoot something.
And so now you're starting consulting.
Yeah, that's, if I ever do, I do a few things on the side for, some of his buddies that graduated dental school, and, people ask for suggestions and stuff, and it's just not something I'm actively doing a whole lot of, but it's good to have and not need than to need and not have. So we started that up, and yeah.
Yeah, and what is that website?
I haven't started a website with it yet.
Just word of mouth referral?
Pretty much. Yeah, and it's, we got a handful of people that I work with. I mean, I'm pretty busy with the 2 practices now, especially. But, if somebody needs, something small or some advice or things like that, I'll send them an invoice just to screw with them. So.
And how do they contact you?
Call, email. They can do, email me at Jake at BachmanFamilyDentistry.com is a perfect way. That's probably my most actively checked mailbox. And then we have affordable Columbus Dentistry at gmail.com. Those are the 2 best ways. Or you can call my cell phone, 734-812-0881. Best way.
And what do you like problems? What problems do you like to solve? I mean, when a dentist calls you up, they probably have 100 different areas that they're concerned about. What areas do you like helping? Where do you find your talents best expressed?
I like making things more efficient so that you can take your staff and have them focus more on the patients. The biggest thing, like I was telling, it came right out. The Renaissance was huge for us. Yappy, Gina Dorfman, thank you very much for making that thing. I searched for a long time trying to find a good inter-office communicator, and we had Lighthouse 360 at the time doing our text message confirmations, email confirmations, recall, and switched over to Yappy. It was a no-brainer. The cost was the same, except there's so many things built in, and then I added had them design a online payment portal, which is sweet. It's so awesome.
So Yappy stands for Yet Another Practice Management
Practice Interface.
Practice Interface. Gina is just she's maybe one of the most amazing dentists I've ever met in her life. She's just crushing out in Southern California. I love her. I love her enthusiasm. I love everything about Gina. How much was Yappy, and why do you like it so much?
So I believe it's $2.99 a month at this point.
And when you got Yappy, you no longer needed Lighthouse?
No, not at all, because Lighthouse was pretty much just doing email confirmations and text messages. That was pretty much it, really. And then so you're paying, it was the same price, honestly, at that point. And I don't know what they charge now, if it's changed at all. They may have even added some other things, because they always, before I canceled, they were saying that they were going to add, communicator and all this stuff. But then, finding Yappy, they do text message confirmations, and then it gets into everything where you can have a dashboard, and it'll show you the status of who's in what op, do they owe money, have they reviewed your practice, is it their birthday, how long have they been in the operatory when the front desk checks them in, how long have they been waiting to be seated. And that's our biggest pet peeve, our number one cardinal sin is don't seat a patient late unnecessarily. So that helps out big. And then at the end of the month or end of the week, day, whatever you want to look at, it'll track down what percentage of the day, week, month that your operatories have been used. And it's awesome. It'll show you some KPI on there too. It's just sky's the limit. And then it also gets into, so this is huge, the health history forms. So on our website, we have the patient portal set up. So basically, a new patient calls up, front desk goes through and talks about them. They want to schedule, then our front desk marshal will have her go to our website, click on the link, fill out their health history, all their information. They hit submit. We get notified. Then when we get in the morning, we can click, pull up, verify all of it, and then when we hit transfer, it'll put everything into Dentrix for you. Just that alone has made our front desk so much more efficient. It's awesome. awesome. I mean, I highly recommend it for anybody. I mean, even if your front desk is getting bogged down, it takes so much workload off of them. It's been great.
And that's Yappy can be found at yappycentral.com. So WAPI Central.com. And what was it? It was yet another practice management.
I think it's just yet another practice interface. I think.
Yet another practice interface. Was that it? Huh. Yeah, I think she's just amazing. I mean.
Yeah, and so I didn't know this at the time, and then we did some research. But so she found out she was a practicing dentist out in California. Was a Dentrix customer, and just designed that to fill in the gaps of where Dentrix is kind of missing the ball. And honestly, that's been awesome.
Yeah, and I think her dad is one of the programmers, and her husband works. I think it's her dad and her husband.
Yeah. I think you're right. And then when you call there, I've talked to them a few times at the beginning, get tech support and stuff, and they've been awesome. I mean, really good. Our front desk will call every once in a while, but I mean, as of lately, knock on wood, we've had to do nothing with it. And then my next thing I wanted to do was, so it started with, we wanted an office communicator to help out and make everyone more efficient and communicate. Then we wanted the online forms for our patients, so that we could kind of streamline that and get rid of filling out paperwork in the office all the time. Plus, it gets the patient more engaged. I mean, if they fill out the paperwork and hit submit and send it to us, the failure rate drops so much. I mean, they're dialed in. They've already plugged their social, their insurance information. Like they're pretty much committed from a new patient. So then we got that on board. Yappy has that, and then I wanted an online bill pay feature, and so everywhere they wanted you to apply for a new merchant service account, and then it was like, well, if you have one set up already, you can't have two, and there was like all this goofy stuff going on with that. So then I was like, well, if a patient can submit their social and all their health history and all this, protected health information through Yappy and their servers and everything, I was like, they got to be able to submit a credit card through it, honestly. So contacted them and kind of sent them a template of what I wanted on the form, and to make sure all of our payments would go through. And so they created a custom form, and now the payment, patients can click on that on our website and hit submit, and perfect. I mean, that was awesome. Didn't cost us an extra penny.
That is very cool. I think Gina's. If you go to Dental Town and you just do a search for Yappy, I mean, there are so many threads talking about how great that is. I mean,
and it's just like people question it too, and there's nothing to question. It's great. Even if you just use it for text messaging and emails, that's fine. It's still worth it. But everything else is like a bonus.
Yeah, I just on my iPhone, I just went to pull up Dental Town, typed in Yappy in the first thread. Yippee, Yappy, me so happy. Yappy, worth it. Yappy, Yappy versus Lighthouse 360. Who else is using it? I mean, it just goes on forever.
Yeah.
I mean, forever. I mean, you can scroll down and see threads going back, a decade on this. I mean, it's just an incredible source. So what about time management?
That's tough. Going throughout the course of the day, I'll have a plan of what I want to get done, and it's just that totally changes by the end of the day. I mean, suction's not working in one of the operatories, and you got to go and fix that, and someone requests a vacation, and then you got to deal with that, and then you have the employees, she's not doing this, and trash has to be taken out. I mean, just dealing with all that stuff. I mean, that's the biggest time sucker out of all of it. Then, it's like December, January, end of the year, start of the new year. We're totally slammed. I mean, that's been the struggle. And then having a second office, trying to find an associate to work down there, open up more hours down that location. That's been the biggest thing, honestly. Yeah, I don't know how you do it. Honestly, you film all these podcasts. I mean, jeez, man.
I know.
Time in the day.
Well, as far as staff and all that kind of stuff, I mean, the bottom line is, I mean, we're right at the playoffs of the NFL, and I don't care if you won the Super Bowl last year, you're going to have 25% employee turnover, and, for every Peyton Manning, who's, a franchise player that's been there forever. A lot of your players only play, I think the average in the NFL is 3.5 years, but I mean, you find a dentist who's 70 years old and they're still, having a hard time finding an associate, staff issues. I mean, it's a never-ending thing. It's the hardest equation in life. I mean, that's why they have government. That's why they have religion. That's why they have rules to obey your father. I mean, it's just people are incredibly complex.
Yeah.
So what else did you want to talk about?
How do you train your associates? I mean, you pretty much now, I'm sure that you get candidates applying all over the place, right? I mean, we've seen
Right.
You were hiring not too long ago. We joked around about Dr. Bachman was like, man, I meet all those criteria. I'm just going to go down to Phoenix. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, the weather. Actually, the best place to find an associate is actually on Dentaltown. The classified ads are free.
Yeah.
The dentists that are on Dentaltown, I mean, obviously they like CE. I mean, we got 350 courses. They're engaged. I mean, there's two types of dentists: those that come home at 5 o'clock and pop a beer and watch ESPN, and then those that get on Dentaltown and argue about root canals till 3 o'clock in the morning. And
Yeah.
so they just seem to be a more passionate group. They've taken a lot of online CE. I think they feel like they're in your fraternity when you're talking to another townie. I mean, they don't even call themselves dentists; they call themselves townies.
Yeah.
And it's a really neat fraternity, and I think that's why it continues to grow. 1,500 people a month. I mean, we're well over. I think the last I looked was 207,000 or something like that. But speaking of the office, I am out of time. I got to get back for my next patient at 1. But thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Absolutely.
What's that?
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I had fun, and thanks for giving us all those links to all those websites and Yappy. I'm sure. Do you ever talk to Gina?
I haven't. No, I saw her. You had her on not too long ago.
Yeah.
Listen to that podcast. I mean, I drive about 45, 50 minutes from the north side of Indy down to Greenwood. So I listen to them, and not having a dental background, I mean that. Honestly, I learned so much clinically because we would always say that to the staff, like, if you hear anything clinically come out of my mouth, just know that I'm regurgitating it from Dr. Bachman. So that. But otherwise, I mean, I learned so much from it listening to the podcast. They've been great. I mean, educational as it comes.
And a lot of I've always noticed in dental lectures about the room. You split the room in half. Half of the room is just all dentists coming by themselves. The other half of the room is just one dentist, but he's got his spouse and 2 assistants and a hygienist and 2 front. And those offices that all learn, where everybody's learning about dentistry, it doesn't matter if they're learning how to do a root canal or how to bill insurance or how to use Yappy. When the whole team is cross-training and learning the whole thing, I mean, those offices do double the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of dentists say, well, it's expensive to educate your employees. And I'm like, well, it's twice as expensive not to educate your employees.
Yeah.
I mean, if the course is $100 for the assistant, I'd say it might cost $500 not to take her. You know what I mean? I mean, you just got to take them. But
yeah.
well, hey, Jake, thanks so much for your time.